The FBI just raided John Bolton's home years after he cashed in on classified info to help Biden. So why now? Blaze News The Mandate starts right now. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Jill Savage. Matthew Peterson is out all week, but don't worry. We have DC politics editor Chris Bedford here with me. Chris, there is still a lot to get to tonight.
I miss him. We mourn for him, but we will carry on in his honor.
Yeah, he's missing out on some fun stuff because we go back to Friday. The FBI, they're raiding people's houses. This time they start with former National Security Advisor John Bolton. It was his home and his office. You remember his book, right? It was basically a gift to the Biden regime, weaponizing it right up to the 2020 election. And then suddenly, within the next year, the official investigation into Bolton's book was closed. You have to ask, well, why? Because it was a job well done. They helped Joe Biden. They buried the case, and Bolton was out there just living his life, free as a bird. And now he's out there on TV, and he was out trashing President Trump and his administration nonstop. So, Bedford, when we look at what happened this time around on Friday, is any of this about justice?
We'll have to figure that all out, but it's certainly about consequences because John Bolton is someone who's spent his career in this. He served multiple U.S. presidents in confidential positions. He knows full well the process because it's not his first book that you have to go through when you submit your manuscript to the White House if you intend to talk about your time using confidential materials. So he submits it, and that approval process is usually pretty quick. They read through it and they tell you, hey, this is fine, this is fine. They might say, man, we don't like this, but it doesn't matter. What matters is, are you sharing confidential material? It turned out he was. So 8 days later, and he had a quick turnaround on this book. It was a rapid turnaround. 8 days later, they get in touch with him and say, hey, you can't put this part in. This part here, where we highlighted, is confidential, classified material. I've still not gotten to the bottom of what that part is, and it seemed to be known that they've actually explained which aspect of the book included that. And he said, oh, too late, guys. I already sent the final proof. We already went to print, and it's already being sent out. So he didn't care. He didn't follow the processes. And then they warned him. They said, if this goes like this, you could lose all of your royalties. Books could be seized. And they actually went to a judge to get that finished. The judge said, listen, there's 20,000 books out. The quote is, this horse is out of the gate. But there is potential in the future for actual punishment for this, for John Bolton to be held accountable for this, for royalties to be seized, for John Bolton to possibly be raided. This case is not closed. It's just the horse is actually out of the gate. And Joe Biden, like you said, he comes in, he decides he likes the book. He drops it. Now, a lot of people are trying to paint this as the Trump administration goes after their enemies. This is not justice. This is not justice. No, the Biden administration politicized it, guys. This original whole thing was by the book. He knew about it. He knew what he was doing wrong. The judge explained it. Not a Trump administration White House first term. The judge explained, hey, this is a serious issue. And Biden said, never mind, it's not, because he was a friend. And we saw this repeatedly. I know we're going to get into it, but enemies raided. Roger Stone, they tipped off CNN, said, hey, FBI is going to be breaking into his house before dawn. Why don't you send a camera crew down there for peak embarrassment? They're going in guns drawn. They raided pro-lifers. They raided all these different kinds of groups, all these different kinds of people, dragged them through the mud, put people in prison, put multiple Trump appointees in prison, and then seem really just shocked that this has ever happened, is actually happening to people who they tried to protect. And, it is shocking because Republicans almost never actually fight back against these bad actors. They always say, we're above the fight. Meanwhile, they're getting kicked in the head repeatedly. So it's a great and important turnaround, and we'll see how it plays out.
So top Trump administration officials, Pam Bondi, AG, put out there on X that America's safety isn't negotiable. Justice will be pursued always. And I liked Kash Patel's full screen better. I liked that because, Chris, we're at the beginning of college football. It's week 1. We've made it. We've made it through the summer. Kash Patel drops this. No one is above the law. FBI agents on the mission. I feel like, Chris, when I look at that, it's like a college football coach that has landed a recruit. Like, he put that out ahead of time, and it was like, hey, if you know, like they have like little things that they'll put, like if you're, if I'm an Iowa Hawkeye, like they'll put like a little like bird out there and they'll be like, we got somebody, right? Without saying it. Like, he's not telling you we're going after John Bolton, but he's telling you something's about to happen. You need to pay attention.
Yeah, I loved it too. I didn't even pay too much attention when I first saw the tweet. Maybe John Bolton saw the tweet. Who knows? But I thought, okay, cool, interesting, not interesting. Actually, it just seems like a basic truism. None of this actually matters unless you're backing it up, unless you're actually holding people accountable. Saying no one is above the law isn't actually true when so many people seem to be above the law. And then boom, I ended up eating my words on that one. By the time the morning meeting had rolled around, the FBI was in his offices and his private residence taking computers. So, this was a rare instance. Listen, I know that everyone here has been waiting. Aaron's been waiting, and Polos has been waiting. Peterson's been waiting. Where are the perp walks? Well, we'll see exactly how far it goes. But right now, the accusation is that John Bolton actually held on to some of that classified information. By the way, John Bolton, one of the things here is he was instrumental in convincing the president not to declassify a lot of the different things that have been declassified in the second term. And those documents, Operation Crossfire, Hurricane, etc., ended up exposing a massive international web of American intelligence agencies, domestic and foreign, who are working together and in concert to depose, essentially, or handicap the duly elected American president. That's a major, major deal. He said, don't release this stuff. Well, it looks like he may have actually kept some of that stuff himself, and it was classified. He was not allowed to do that. Naughty, naughty, naughty boy. Now he's in trouble.
I want to look at the CNN reaction, particularly Andrew McCabe on CNN, because, Chris, I don't know if you remember all the way back to the Mar-a-Lago raid, but I'm sure a lot of people in our audience do remember that. And let's go ahead and have Andrew McCabe remind everyone exactly how he felt for the Trump Mar-a-Lago raid.
I can't overemphasize to you, John, how big of a deal this would have been within the Department of Justice and the FBI. This is not, a couple of agents showing up at some judge's door in the middle of the night to get an emergency warrant. This is something that would have been planned out and reevaluated and legally examined from every possible angle by the entirety of the leadership structure of both organizations. So let's remember that to get a search warrant in any case, whether it's you or I or the former president, you have to go before a federal judge and convince that judge that there is probable cause to believe both that a federal crime has been committed and that evidence of that crime is contained within the space you have described in your warrant request. So we have, in this situation, a federal judge who made that determination, giving the agents authority to enter that premises and search every part of the premises that might contain the items that are specifically described in the warrant.
All right, so we all have that in our mind now. Now, let's compare and contrast. How different is this when he suddenly gets John Bolton up there, and watch Andrew McCabe change his tune.
I have absolutely no doubt that Mr. Bolton will have very good counsel, and they will attack this in a full-throated and complete way, as they should, right? So we know that Mr. Bolton has said critical things about the president. That's not illegal. That's not a crime. That's pretty squarely within your First Amendment right in this country. And in fact, you shouldn't be. You're not supposed to be. The Department of Justice and the FBI have all kinds of policies absolutely prohibiting investigating people for the exercise of their First Amendment rights. And so if that's what's going on here, and there's all kinds of reasons to believe that that might be the true motivation. We know that the president is embarked on a pretty extensive effort to go after his perceived enemies, to, he
said he was running on
revenge
retribution.
That's right. I am your retribution.
Retribution, that's all it's going to be, Chris. You see McCabe out there like he is, he is ready to go. He is defending John Bolton, which I don't know if that's like any position that I would ever want to be in on national TV, like to go out there and be like, oh, John Bolton, he's so great. But you see the way that he was going at this, and it's like, oh, John Bolton is going to have great legal defense against this. It's his First Amendment right, Chris.
Well, I guess that's true in both cases, isn't it? This is First Amendment right, just like it was the president's First Amendment right to run for office, to challenge President Joe Biden, to challenge the deep state. And the Department of Justice has to be really careful and really buttoned up when they make these sort of high-profile investigations. And raids. It's so funny, though, that he doesn't think, I guess, that anyone's going to be buttoned up or actually going to be careful about the law when it comes to what, unfortunately, he would consider blue team. I mean, honestly, I guess if we're doing teams or we're doing trades, I am very happy to trade John Bolton to Team Blue. That sounds like a great idea, but that's the way he's doing it. So, I mean, it could come in that answer for either one, and it just shows you the way that the kind of that duplicitous doublespeak that they're capable. A lot of these guys are so capable and have trained their whole lives in being able to do. Of course, you have to be buttoned up. Of course, you have to go through and make sure this is a legal raid. The idea that John Bolton was being raided because he was obnoxious on Twitter when he's barely even relevant is preposterous. Here we go, and the question is going to be what they find and what they present. I've yet to see, though, what the Trump administration or the Biden administration or the Department of Justice actually was worried about with this classified information. What was it that he put in this book? And that's important to know, because the reality is the federal government classifies everything. It's just everything. It's stupid how much is classified. And that does allow administrations to just go after people, because the chances that you have violated it at some point or another, if you've been in the administration, especially once you leave, are extremely high. Now, this seems to be a different case where he has warnings from the lawyers who was told specifically, no, bad, don't do that, did it anyways. Judge cracks down. It seems like Mr. McCabe has forgotten a lot of the early case history of this, these rather specifics, as opposed to the complete and total ghost raid on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, which they leaked to the press was about nuclear plans. No, it wasn't. And it turns out, who knows? We've never actually figured out what they were after. But it turns out it may actually be some of the information that has implicated them, all the different members of Crossfire Hurricane and other operations against the president. They implicated them that have since been declassified.
All right, there might be a rabbit hole that I'm about to go down, but go down there with me. Why is this happening right now? We see the Trump administration maybe just getting its footing, sure. But we also talked about something last week on the show, that there was a co-deputy director for the FBI that has been, named, at least, not put in place until September 8th. But Bailey out of Missouri will be now the co-deputy director. Is this a move, Chris, where you're like, hey, got to show the boss like you're working really hard, so like let's get a raid out there? Or is this just normal timing?
I mean, I suspect that was something that I would hope that was something that's just important, that it wasn't just done without the actual proper preparation. Because I tell you what, McCabe is right. John Bolton is going to lawyer up. He's going to have very good lawyers. And if not every T is crossed and every I dotted, then they're going to eat up the administration. It'll end up being very embarrassing for the FBI and for the DOJ. So I hope that they were very serious and very careful when they actually did this. And there's no doubt that Kash Patel and Bongino have not been very successful in putting points on the board in any way that can be seen. Now, I understand also that this has always been the case with law enforcement and intel, is that your failures are much more heavily publicized often than your successes. Then that can be frustrating. But we hear through Steve Baker and his sources and Joe Hanneman and their sources that there's actually internal discord at the FBI over some of these aspects, the way it's being managed, the presence of leadership and how hands-on they are and what they're actually getting done. So putting points on the board and actually being able to make these high-profile arrests that everyone didn't think he actually would, or at least these raids, that's really important for them to be doing right now. But I sure hope, and they better hope, that this is not just some kind of stunt, because it will be undone if that's the case.
Well, Well, you're walking through the grocery store, you think that you know what you're buying until you find out that over 4 billion pounds of meat were imported to the United States. And that was just last year. But a lot of that can still be labeled like it's right here from America. That's when you have to think like, wait, what are we actually eating? If this can say product of the United States when it wasn't even raised here, then what other kind of games are they playing? That's when you need to look at goodranchers.com because they've changed everything. You know that their meat is 100% American. It's born, raised, and harvested right here on local farms, and it's delivered right to your door. I'm a subscriber myself. It's worth all of it. You can get up to $40 off every box and free shipping and a free gift in every order for life. And what's better than free meat? You can choose between bacon, seed oil-free chicken nuggets, Wagyu burgers. You can even switch the gift out from month to month to try something new. So if you're worried about buying a subscription, you shouldn't be, because you can pause it or delay it or cancel it at any time. There's no stress or lock-in. It's all very flexible. Thousands of people have already made the switch. The reviews are amazing, so go head over to goodranchers.com to see what everyone's talking about. Use my code Jill. You'll get $40 off plus free meat for life with your subscription. It's goodranchers.com. Welcome to the table. Let's switch over to your favorite topic, Epstein. Let's look at the DOJ. We have the audio tapes of Ghislaine Maxwell with her interview. They were released also on Friday. It was a big weekend here. So everybody, wanted to know what she would say about Donald Trump. And guess what? She answered. Go ahead and listen.
I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
All right, so she never saw, heard anything. But the most shocking admission in the entire transcript when Todd Blanche asked her for her thoughts on Epstein's death. And Todd Blanche says, so basically you don't think that he died by suicide, given all the things that we just talked about. And Maxwell says, I do not believe he died by suicide, which is just, if you're the friend, Chris, are you gonna say anything else? Or is this just kind of what we should expect from Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from Ghislaine, and I don't know how seriously to take anything that she says. She's obviously a sociopath, right? She obviously is somebody who's able to completely lie, very easily lie, manipulate, completely separate fact from reality and herself. If she's got any moral compass whatsoever, it doesn't seem to accuse her very often. She's someone who definitely needs to try to get some kind of a prison sentence shortening plea deal. That's her position. And doing that, you're not going to do that by speaking ill of powerful people. But this does back up everything that we have ever seen from departments of justice under Democratic administrations and Republican administrations, from newspaper reporting, from witnesses and eyewitness accounts that President Trump had nothing to do with this. They knew each other because they were in Manhattan finance circles, in Florida finance circles, and Trump actually kicked him out of Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being an absolute creep and trying to groom a member's daughter and young members of the staff. So this backs that up. But I understand, I guess, the administration doesn't really want to be talking about this. It doesn't matter if it's more exoneration, and maybe that's got something to do with that Friday news dump.
Well, I was reading our article at theblaze.com, which everybody should go do. But when I read this, I was like, man, Ghislaine Maxwell really knows how to play the game. Because if you want a pardon, you need to praise Donald Trump. This is what she said. She said, like they were friendly in social settings, like you were saying. I don't think they were close friends. But President Trump was always very cordial and kind to me. I just want to say that I find and admire his extraordinary achievement of becoming president now. And I like him. I've always liked him. So that's the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him. What else would you, if you're out there and you want a pardon, you got to say the nice things about 47. Like, she's playing the game.
She's playing the game. I wouldn't hope for a pardon. I guess there
were talks about it though earlier. I'm like, what are we doing here? But listen, if you hear that, if your lawyers are telling you it's possible, you're going to compliment the man till the end of time.
So she's not, I don't think a president, of course there's always talks. We all get to talk. That's what we do. But yeah, what I understand is that the Department of Justice is potentially looking at a more administrative aspect of this than a presidential pardon. one that would be more of a commutation of sentencing or a lessening of the severity of her sentencing in exchange for full collaboration with them and also being honest and being truthful. So she has that weighing on her. But like I said, I mean, she is a sociopath. That seems to be fairly clear. So everyone waiting with bated breath for what's Ghislaine, whatever her name is, going to say. It's, I mean, there was a half a chance that she burned it all down and accused everyone of being guilty, and everybody's complicit. And the King of England was there, and I saw the Queen too, and the Pope came by. She didn't do that. Instead, she seems to exonerate a lot of people. But how about that Bill Clinton line?
Yes.
I was with him. It was always on travel. He was never massaged by anyone. Okay, we have a photograph. Bill Clinton being massaged. Oh, yeah, there it is. Exactly. Somebody took a picture of it. I mean, I guess getting your back rubbed sitting there in an airport by someone you're traveling with, maybe that's fairly normal. I've seen that amongst friends and stuff, but I don't think that they were friends. I don't think the President of the United States came there with that young woman and they go way back. So maybe I'm missing something, but that seems to point in another direction from Miss Maxwell's testimony.
No, and with the Clintons in particular, she went through and said, oh, yeah, I was there at the beginning, basically, for the Clinton Global Initiative, the Clinton Foundation. So there are just more ties that we have already heard this before, and we could put the pieces together. But then you have Ghislaine Maxwell actually saying it to the DOJ. It's just like, OK, so all of these shady things that we're hearing about the Clinton Foundation that we always knew were true, right? All these things on the right that we know are true. We're just getting further and further and further proof that these things actually happened.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. It's billionaire jet setting, influence purchasing, prestige purchasing. I mean, it's the scene from Batman where they're doing a fundraiser. All these millions and millions and millions of dollars spent on lobster tails and caviar and champagne to help the poor. That's exactly what the whole thing was. And it was with like a really healthy dose of corruption. I mean, I remember reporting out a story about the Clinton Foundation's efforts to rebuild in Haiti after the earthquake. But what they were actually doing is just building really cruddy factory towns that were able to make textiles so they could get around American trade policy, importing third world textiles through India. I mean, it was like, that's the kind of charity work that this organization really got up to. That and Ayla's and Balls and the Lolita Express.
Well, we have a world that's gone fully digital. Holding something in your hands is almost revolutionary. That's what Frontier Magazine is all about. I happen to have the copy right here. It's the kind of truth that can't be quietly deleted or buried by an algorithm. Now, Frontier Magazine, you can actually have issue 3. It's our boldest issue yet. And when you own Frontier, you own something that lasts. You can pass it on to a friend. You actually have a physical copy, and you can say, this is what's really happening. Now, the only way to get Frontier Magazine is through Blaze Unlimited. And it's not just your access to Frontier, but you get that. And you also get VIP perks and early event access and members-only premium content. It's built for people who want more. And it's not just about reading the truth. It's about owning it. So go to blazeunlimited.com/BNT right now and lock in your subscription before we sell out again. The first 50 subscribers who use the code BLAZE50 will get $40 off and receive a special bonus: digital access to Frontier issues number 1 and 2. You can complete the whole thing from the start. Go to blazeunlimited.com/BNT. Promo code BLAZE50. Chris Bedford is our DC expert, so we have to put his knowledge to the test because President Trump right now, he's cracking down in Washington, D.C. and delivering results because for 12 consecutive days now, Bedford, nobody's getting murdered out there. There are no homicides. It's actually so successful that he's like, hey, maybe we can do this for other cities. But Democrats like Chicago Mayor Johnson, they're actually furious over this, and they're trying to urge residents to push back against federal efforts.
And so, look, we're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people in this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. And if that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this city.
All right, so there are several different aspects that we need to get into with this in particular, one, the federalization of it. But let's start with just what he's doing in Washington, D.C. itself and why there is Democrat outrage over this. Because if you go back to 2023, there was a 20-year high for the city for 274 homicides. Like, D.C. is not that big, Bedford. Like, it's a small little area. And so you look at it, okay. The crackdown, the enforcement, if you will, begins on August 7th. And this is where we go through. We get all of these arrests, over 1,000 arrests, 111 guns taken off the streets. And then President Trump is like, yeah, I mean, we're ready to go anywhere. But Democrats see this. And even though it's almost entirely Black lives being saved, they still can't have it. They can't deal with what's happening right there in Washington, D.C., because they can't give the orange man bad any credit, Chris.
Oh, yeah. And also, I mean, Democrats don't care about Black lives. I mean, no one cares less about the fortunes, prosperity, safety, happiness of Black Americans than Black politicians, the Democratic politicians, than the Jesse J. The Jesse Jacksons out there just screaming and yelling. It is a path to money. It is a path to success. You know who's one actual example who's different on this? It's always been interesting to me. Throughout all of 2020, Al Sharpton was flipping out about the anti-policing measures, saying, you latte liberals, what are you talking about? The people who are going to be hurt by this, people who are going to be hurt most by this, are the people who are most vulnerable from my community, not from your community, from my neighborhood, not your neighborhood. And that was actually pretty brave of him. But by and large, you just get these constant empty promises, complete and total BS, where no one's actually willing to do the work. I mean, my wife on Sunday was on one of the shows. She was debating another DC resident who we've known for a few years. And he was saying to her, well, what's the solution to crime? What is the solution? What solutions do you have? They're so stupid. The solution to crime is punishment. We know this. We've gotten too smart, too educated. We've become educated beyond our intelligence. And we've come up with a whole lot of ideas that it takes a lot of degrees to come up with any other solution for crime, and it does not work. They're saying, what is the National Guard for? The National Guard aren't kicking in doors. This isn't Belfast. The National Guard are a deterrence. I know that word is supposed to be mean. Deterrence is supposed to be bad. It's not bad. Deterrence is very good. I mean, there is, of course, a place for social workers. There is a place, a really important place that's massively lacking in D.C., for secure families, for whole families, for a mom and dad who are there, for no drugs in the house when kids are growing up, for schools that give a darn, for being educated to the point that you're literate. There's a lot of different tools. A lot of money is going into that. Not enough success going into that. But the reality is, all of those things are there to serve you. All of those things are there to help a lot of people who in this city are born into terrible circumstances. I don't envy them. I see. Just this past weekend, I saw a little baby that broke my heart seeing it, because they can't even speak up for themselves, and the lifeless eyes and this little boy's father, that just clearly he wasn't getting the food he needed. It was so obvious, and it's depressing to see it all the time. That kid does not have the same chance in life that my kids are going to have, and there should be as many things possible that are done to actually help these kids and help them have that full life and help them stay out of prison. But by the time you're pulling out guns and knives and crushing people's heads under their own car tires, by the time you're opening fire on women who are pregnant walking with their children in the street, by the time you're carjacking people, guess what? Those services no longer for you. Now what's for you is prison. You go straight to jail. You go to prison. You do hard time. None of this stuff of, well, this kid could have another chance. Oh, no, those were the chances. The chances came previously. And no, this is not something that's completely foreign to me. I'm not just a book guy. I got a lot of friends. I got a lot of family who've done some time on the inside, and they've gone the wrong way, and they've gotten their lives back together. Thank God. Almost all of them. But there comes a point where you no longer get patted on the head. That is a solution. And we're seeing it all over Washington, D.C., and the liberals are freaking out. Democrats are freaking out. But I got news for you. You go down to the Nats Park, and people are parking on the street. People who are probably protesting during the day are not even using parking garages to go to games. That was not something that you wanted to do for a very long time. It's just like Baltimore. When you go there, you have to filter in to your cost for your visit parking in the garage, because otherwise, even the guys at the hotels, I'll tell you, your car's getting broken into if you don't do that. So they're enjoying this safety, and it's helping them, and it's making them happy. But they hate Trump so much that they're going to fight him.
Imagine being a citizen there in Chicago and you're just out there trying to live your life and your mayor is like, we don't need the National Guard, put up full screen 9. The Chicago homicide rate, it's the worst in the world, in the United States, I should say. And it's not just like it just started, Chris. It's for 13 straight years. They have not figured out anything in Chicago. And then you go through, and former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich was saying that there's almost 250,000 unanswered 911 calls out there. So even if stuff's happening to you, the police aren't going to come save you. They have migrants all over the city. So something needs to be done. I think that we can all agree on that, and we all want people to remain safe out there. But Glenn Beck was talking about this earlier today on X, and I have to say, he has a point here. He said, would love for President Trump to clean up cities like Chicago. He proved that D.C. and law enforcement actually works, but it's not a federal district. Trump must find a 100% constitutional way to do it, or he would open the doors for real tyrants down the line. Break this down for us. What doors would he then be opening for the future?
Precedent of using federal agents to ignore local jurisdiction. The United States has a really strong history of local rule. Of your town is in charge of it. If the county's in charge of that, the city might be in charge of the city, the state. That's why you have battles all the time, famous battles between the mayor of New York City and the governor of New York that go back decades of feuding between these two powerhouses over who's got the jurisdiction to do that. And you want that. You want that. That's what the founders intended. It's something that's missing in D.C. these days, that jealousy between the powers. There's always this, you don't get Congress who's as willing to work like they used to work or oversee the way that they used to oversee. But you still have that in the states and the cities. And there are certain emergency examples where that can just be completely ignored. Whether you want to go back to Little Rock or you want to come up to Los Angeles, when there are mayors and governors who are completely unwilling to protect their own citizens or violating the civil rights of their citizens, then you've got that kind of precedent. But you need to be very careful. You need to be buttoned up about it. Now, I think the citizens, I don't know what he's talking about, the mayor of Chicago. The citizens have a history of rising up against tyrants. What is he talking about? I can't think of any kind of an example of some kind of Chicago insurrection against tyranny. But I can tell you that my aunts and uncles who lived in the beautiful suburbs outside of that beautiful city wouldn't even sell their nice homes, nice places they lived in, nice communities, because people didn't want to buy it, and the taxes were killing them. I can tell you that my cousin who lives out there with his wife and his kid, he leaves the city, or at least he used to when he lived there, would leave the city to fuel up his car because he was afraid to put gas in at the gas station. I love Chicago. It's great food. It's some of the best. I'm from Boston. Some of the best Irish pubs I have ever been to in my entire life are in that city. Some of the most stunning architecture, great hotels, great history. And it's really sad to see how dangerous and lawless so many aspects of it have become. And the Chicago PD, they work hard. They sometimes work around the law, just like you might see in an episode of The Wire. But without the politicians backing them, it's really just a disaster.
Bedford praising anything that's not on the East Coast is an incredible achievement for Chicago, and they should definitely take note. Donald Trump had a couple of executive orders that he issued today, and one of them goes right along with this. He's ending the cashless bail there in Washington, D.C. So guess what? When you're a criminal and you're actually put in jail, you can't just be quickly released out on the street without posting bail. And another one that he signed today was about burning the American flag, Chris. So now as you go through, a lot of people usually go through and say, okay, this is all the free speech one, but he's saying my administration will act to restore the respect and sanctity to the American flag and prosecute those who incite violence or otherwise violate our laws while desecrating the symbol of our country. So he says there's going to be no early release. It's going to be a 1-year penalty for anybody who burns the flag. What are your thoughts on the Trump executive orders that we saw today?
So that's the key is later on in that sentence where he says, who are engaged in other acts. That's how they're going to actually possibly be able to pass constitutional muster with this. I love it. Everybody loves it. Nobody likes a flag burner. Nobody. I don't know why anyone does it. It makes them look so stupid, and it just makes them look like spoiled little rat pigs. It's an awful thing, but you're allowed to. It's like you're allowed to have foul language. You're allowed to get on a megaphone obnoxiously enough and bug people at dinner. You're allowed to. Unfortunately, for some reason nowadays, you're allowed to block traffic. That should be illegal. I think the only thing God hates more than abortion is traffic jams. But if you catch them in different acts, so if you're committing arson, if your gathering is illegal, if you're blocking that traffic without a permit and you're harassing commuters, if you're violent, if you're breaking into buildings, this seems to be one that specifically goes at places like Columbia in New York City. If you're breaking into dormitories while burning American flags, well, now you've committed a crime in the acts of also being a jerk. And you being a jerk is going to weigh in on this, as it always does. I mean, intent and mindset and the way you go about things has always been a part of the West of American law enforcement and crime and punishment. If you're here on a green card, well, that's a weird thing Democrats are trying to push, is that foreigners get the same protections. They get the same protections Americans do from being imprisoned for free speech, but they don't get the same protections on being here. They are guests. So if you're a guest in this country, taking a bunch of federal money or paying for it entirely with your Saudi oil money or whatever else sent you to college, and you're out there burning the American flag and saying death to the Jews, you're not going to get those benefits anymore. And actually, you might have to leave. Those are not criminal penalties. Those are not violations of your First Amendment, and they can do that. That's going to be the way that they try to get this passed. And I think, listen, is there a lot of constitutional issues around flag burning? Yes, famously, there always have. But is this the next issue that Donald Trump gets Democrats to come out and defend flag burning? I mean, did he find another issue that Americans, just by and large, do not like to see and say, hey, Democrats, why don't you defend it? This might be the ticket. Cashless bail is the best. I love getting rid of that stupid system that has led to a revolving door for criminals and made every city that's instituted less safe. That's my favorite one of all of this.
All right. So we talked about the people that are here on visas, over 50 million of them. We talked about that last week. You mentioned the college protesters. Well, we'll tell you the good things. I don't know if this next soundbite from Donald Trump is going to be labeled as one of the good things. All the Chinese students are going to be allowed to come into the country. Watch.
We're taking a lot of money in from China because of the tariffs and the different things. And it's a very important relationship. We're going to get along good with China. I hear so many stories about we're not going to allow their students. We're going to allow their students to come in. We're going to allow, it's very important, 600,000 students. It's very important. But we're going to get along with China. But it's a different relationship that we have now with China. It's a much better relationship economically than it was before. With Biden, boy, what he allowed they just took him to the cleaners.
All right, Chris, we have about 2 minutes. Donald Trump, we're going to allow 600,000 students from China. We have to get along with them, Chris.
Why is it a good thing? What's he talking about? I don't get it. I actually do get it, because it's something that the president wrote about in his first book. He wrote about in every one of his books. It's been part of his stump speeches, and we've always been trying to figure out, and I was asking at the White House when I was there, is the president's posture towards China interested in a strategic realignment and re-understanding of our relationship and treating them like the global atheist slave state pariah that they are, that steals and lies and cheats with intellectual property, that is constantly trying to undermine its enemies, that is vicious towards some people? Is that what we're going to do, or are we just going to try and get a better business deal with them? I mean, both paths are kind of legitimate, but I was very hopeful for the former. And I know that President Trump, from the very beginning of his public career in the 80s, has been talking about foreign governments undermining America and us getting a raw deal on trade and a raw deal on just the back and forth of goods. And if that's what his goal is, then the Chinese students are just another bargaining chip for him. And unfortunately, we may have to wait a few more years for the actual strategic realignment that the United States probably needs to have to end that toxic relationship we have with China.
We've been told for months something's going to happen with TikTok that's going to have some ending here. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be owned by the Americans. We'll figure it out. Just trust us, you guys. TikTok. is continuing to go on because nobody in the administration really wants it to end. Don't go anywhere. Will Chris Bedford lose his man card or not? That when we come back right after this. Well, from time to time, the subject of man cards come up. So should Zohran Mamdani lose his man card? Well, I mean, first of all, he's a communist. It's an automatic strike against him. And then we have this video from over the weekend where he's trying to bench press. Now, Chris, as I'm looking at this video, there are a lot of individuals standing around him watching this go down. Let me get one more. Right? If you know you can't do that, Chris, are you going to sit on that bench in front of all those people? Or are you just going to be like, absolutely not?
I think I would definitely. I think the weight that I'm going to end up failing on is a lot higher. And that's fine. It's okay to push yourself to your brink in public. Unfortunately, that young man does not seem to know that he even had anything. I think he might have struggled to lift that bar. That is not impressive. It's funny. Rebecca, who's been on the show so many times, our DC reporter, said earlier today that it was a self-esteem boost to know that she can bench press more than the mayoral candidate from New York, and that's probably true.
Everybody's workouts are going to be coming up here, Chris. You just wait. This is why we use this as our question today on X. What tips would you give Mamdani to get in shape? I said wrong answers only. So James starts us off. Do workouts with Jill Savage. Now, if this is wrong answers only, we're correct. One, you'd probably start with Rebecca's. But really, what you would want to do, if this was the correct answer, right answers only, is do Chris Bedford's workout. Watch this.
Okay, I have my dear friend Chris Bedford, who's an incredible journalist, in the studio tonight, and I'm going to ask him a really important question. Everyone wants to know this. How the heck do you stay in such good shape? I mean, you have a young child. You're, fairly, I'm going to say newly married, but not, you're young. But you look like a football player. How do you do it?
Well, thanks, Laura. I found out that there's no time during the day or the night, so you have to do it before the sun rises.
Ooh, what time we talking?
5 a.m. wake up.
5 a.m. and what are you doing?
Give me a drop off. We do cycles, lifting, bench presses. You have to hit the bar, and then cardio. And there's some funny ones. A lot of crunches.
Okay, I was gonna say I knew you lifted heavy weights because there's no way you get that strong by just doing a regular deal. All right, that's the news everyone wants.
5 a.m. I will do anything to play that clip again. By the way, that's clearly while we're even talking about this. But Bedford, when you see that clip again, I mean, Laura loves your workout. Laura Ingraham loves your workout.
I know she's a great pump up woman for me. It was a real good thing for the self-esteem because I think I was only at that point like 4 months into getting back into being able to work out after the baby was born. And boy, when I finished up maternity leave, same thing. I was that Taco Bell diet was weighing heavy on me at the time. Yeah, you got to get up early. I didn't have to get up early to work out when I was a young guy without a family, because then you just build it into your schedule. Guys, yeah, I'm not going to meet you at the bar until 6:30. I got to do some things at work or this or that. That doesn't work with children. It doesn't work with nannies and childcare and school pickup and school drop off and baseball practice and cooking dinner and a wife and people who are tired. That's just impossible. So you need to do it in the morning. And actually, I'm only even able to get up and do it in the morning because Sarah takes that shift. She jumps up. She's up there with the baby. She's doing her hair and getting ready for her job while the baby's cooing and cawing and sometimes screaming and yelling and getting everything out the door. And she has to bear that. And that's been excellent. But she knows that you have to do it. And now the mayoral candidate of New York knows you have to do it. If you want to be able to get compliments from Laura Ingraham or you want to be able to put that bar up at a political event, then you've got to do the work.
So happy that you lost your baby weight as well. Let's go ahead and get back to some of the replies. Tom says, eat lots of soybeans. I have a feeling, Bedford, he already does that. Like, he's a soy kind of guy.
So much. His whole diet is microplastics, soybeans. It is absolutely maybe every once in a while he'll splurge for some sushi rolls. This is not the sort of stuff. He's not cranking the protein. He's not eating that heavy. He's not eating that carnivore diet you hear about from the meatheads on Instagram. Nothing but meat and sometimes salmon. Nothing else. No, he's not doing that. But I think. Listen, every guy has an actual moment that makes if they've fallen off in the gym, and almost everybody does at some point in their life. They go through phases. They have a moment where they decide, oh, it's gone too far. And it almost always at the end of pointed mockery from their friends. Somebody walks in and just says the thing that no one would ever say to a girl. Your wife's not going to say to you. Your loved ones aren't going to. But the guys will tell you when you're looking weak, when you're getting fat. And maybe this is his moment. Maybe this is the time where he comes back and he's just jacked, but I'm kind of doubtful because of those soybeans.
But people usually do that right before the wedding. He already got married. He didn't take that into account. Let's go ahead and round out the replies. Never Again says stacking size 10 cans of hominy in a local grocery store before he plans to close that upon election. He's out there saying, oh, all these grocery stores, they don't need to pay rent. We need to do all these other things with grocery stores. Bedford, like you look at this and it's like, come on. Dude, your socialist ideas, they're even worse than your workout regimen.
They are so dumb. The grocery store thing honestly pisses me off the most. The grocery stores, I remember being shocked when I heard in college, they're in food deserts. Like, did you know that in poorest communities in the country, there aren't even grocery stores? They have to take a cab to get it. And I thought, that sounds awful. Those evil grocery stores. What bad people they must be. Then I figured out the reality, which is grocery stores operate in such a small margin of profit. You steal a product, they're going to have to sell 25 products to make that money back. And that's the kind of profit margins they deal with. And the state of thieving in D.C. and Northern Virginia and the Maryland suburb grocery stores is so bad, the whole aisles are sometimes locked up. It's inconvenient now because different doors you can't even go in and out of because of just absolutely flagrant thieving. And that is hitting a lot of these poorer neighborhoods absolutely the most. And not only that, a friend of mine or an acquaintance of mine tried to open up a bunch of cheap restaurant stores, these Aldi's, cheaper grocery stores from Europe in a bad neighborhood in D.C. The city council and the local activists met with them. Everybody needed donations to their group. If you want to do business in our community, you need to support our community. What? A grocery store doesn't do that? No, you need 100,000 to this group, 10,000 to this group, 100,000 to this group. And he's saying, guys, I'm a discount grocery store. I don't make that much money to just be handing it out to you. You guys think I'm a piggy bank? So they ended up, there was 10 grocery stores that were going to open up, throw Anacostia. Not one of them opened up because the greed of the local activists. This is a reality that the mayor of New York is going to come up against.
Was terrible.
No, that wasn't a funny answer. I'm sorry.
Thieving.
He's still a weakling.
Big grocery. It's out to get you. One more while we have time real quick. Steve friend of the show, FBI whistleblower, says live with your back, not with your legs. You've got government-run health insurance. Truer words have never been spoken there. You gotta make sure that you're in shape because you can't rely on the government for anything, let alone the health insurance. Bedford, what a fun show. There's a lot going on in D.C. We love having you on the show.
It's kind of a blast. I'm looking forward to all day tomorrow. Just hanging out, getting ready. And Peterson, take your time getting home.
You and me all week, buddy. We'll see you again. Thanks so much. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back again tomorrow.